It's a battle of the fastest versus the most powerful as the Flash tries to outrun Godzilla's atomic breath. Who will win this matchup? In today's matchup, we put two titans against each other. Two figures that are known for their sheer destructive power. But which one is more dangerous? That's right, today, we're putting the fastest man alive up against the king of the monsters. It's the Flash vs Godzilla. To be honest, it's not really much of a fight. One can argue that the Flash could just blink, and the fight would be over before Godzilla even had a chance to react. However, this fight is about more than just who's stronger or faster. It's about the entertainment factor. And with these two heavy hitters, there's always going to be some kind of way to make things interesting. That's why today we pit the Flash against one of his greatest challenges yet, outrunning Godzilla's atomic breath. After all, how fast does one need to be to avoid being burned to a crisp by that deadly atomic blast? Let's find out. As the world's most renowned hero, the Flash has become accustomed to saving people from villains and disasters. But he's never saved anyone from an angry giant radioactive lizard breathing down their necks. Well, until today, a massive roar shook the city as a giant monster rose above the skyscrapers. His name was Godzilla, and he was hungry for destruction. With each step, the ground trembled as people ran in terror, hiding wherever they could. Even Superman flew away, leaving this task to someone else. And then the Flash appeared. He'd heard about Godzilla from the Justice League, but he'd never seen him before. No one knew where the Flash was going to run when Godzilla unleashed his atomic breath. So everyone watched in suspense as the Flash made his move. He sprinted forward, moving at an incredible speed. In less than a second, he reached the first building and vanished behind it. And just after that, Godzilla fired. A massive burst of energy shot toward the building, engulfing it in flames. The Flash reappeared on the other side and continued running. But Godzilla wasn't done. He followed the Flash's path, destroying everything in his way. The entire city was in chaos as the Flash kept moving. There was no way he was going to be able to outrun Godzilla forever, so he needed a plan. And he had only one option: Reverse Flash. As Godzilla's atomic breath destroyed the city, the Flash turned around and ran back. He raced past Godzilla and the air shimmered behind him as he used his powers to travel through time. He'd outrun Godzilla's atomic breath once, but it was only a matter of time before he caught up. This time, the Flash traveled even further. When he turned back, he saw Godzilla's atomic breath streaking toward him, but he was ready. He moved aside, and the beam went right through him. It hit the ground and exploded, sending debris everywhere. The Flash stood in the middle of the mess and looked around. Godzilla was gone, but he knew it was only a matter of time before he came back again, and that meant he had to move again. So the Flash started to run, racing around the city at superhuman speeds. This time, he was going to make sure he stayed out of Godzilla's sight. But the king of the monsters wasn't giving up, so every time the Flash thought he'd lost him, Godzilla would appear in another part of the city and fire his atomic breath. The Flash kept moving, never stopping, never slowing down. He dodged each attack, but he was starting to get tired. He couldn't keep this up forever, and if he didn't come up with something, he'd eventually get caught. He needed to change tactics. The Flash stopped running and turned to face Godzilla. He was tired of playing games, and it was time to end this. He took a deep breath and focused. Then he began to move again. But this time he wasn't running. He was vibrating at an incredibly high frequency. To the human eye, it looked like the Flash was standing still. But that was an illusion. The Flash was vibrating so fast that he was invisible. Godzilla fired his atomic breath, but it passed right through the Flash. And when he stopped vibrating, he was right in front of Godzilla. The king of the monsters roared in anger and surprise, but the Flash was too quick. Before Godzilla could react, the Flash delivered a punch that sent the monster flying. He got up and staggered back, but the Flash was on him again in a flash. He punched and kicked Godzilla over and over, each blow weakening the monster more than the last. Finally, Godzilla collapsed to the ground, defeated. The Flash had won, but it hadn't been easy. He was exhausted, and his body was aching. He'd never fought anyone like Godzilla before, and he had to admit the experience had been terrifying. As he stood there catching his breath, the Flash couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He may have been the fastest man alive, but that didn't mean he wasn't vulnerable. But today he'd proven that he didn't need to be the strongest or the biggest to be a hero. All he needed was speed and a good plan. The people emerged from their hiding places, cautiously at first, then in full force. They cheered and applauded as the Flash took a bow. He'd saved them from Godzilla and restored order to their world. And as the sun set over the horizon, the Flash disappeared into the night. Only the sounds of their cheers echoed through the streets as the people celebrated their victory over the monsters. The Flash might be the fastest man alive, but that doesn't mean he's invincible. After all, even the Flash needs a plan to beat a monster like Godzilla. What do you think? How fast would the Flash have to be to actually outrun Godzilla's atomic breath? Let us know in the comments below. We've all heard the old saying, slow and steady wins the race. But when it comes to the Flash, we know that's not always true. Yes, the fastest man alive, and that is thanks to his ability to vibrate his molecules so fast that he appears to be invisible. That means he can run faster than the speed of light, and he can even travel through time. But it also means he's not very strong. If he were to punch someone, it wouldn't do much damage because his hand would just pass right through them. But the Flash isn't just a speedster. He's also incredibly smart. He knows how to use his powers to their fullest potential, and that's what makes him such a formidable opponent. When he's facing off against a villain like Gorilla Grodd, he might not be able to match him in strength or durability, but he can use his speed to outsmart him. For example, the Flash could run round the world at such a speed that he'd effectively become invisible to Gorilla Grodd. Then he could use his super hearing to listen in on Gorilla Grodd's plans and figure out a way to stop him. Or he could run so fast that he'd be able to punch Gorilla Grodd at the speed of light, which would be enough to knock him out. Of course, it's not always easy to use these tactics. The Flash has to be incredibly careful when he's running at the speed of light, because if he makes one wrong move, he could end up erasing himself from existence. But that's just part of what makes him such an exciting character. We know that he's capable of some truly amazing things, even if we don't always understand how he does it. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an upload. Until next time, stay fast.